Hello everyone, I'm Greg Weaver. Welcome to the Audio Analyst. Pardon me. If you are not familiar with the German audio powerhouse Audionet by now, I suspect you haven't been paying attention to the trends in the hyper-audio segment of the market. After having had the pleasure of reviewing the Audionet Pre G2 linestage and max monoblocks for the absolute sound, I adopted them as my reference electronics. I have also had the pleasure of spending time with and also reviewing for the absolute sound their flagship Scientist series of machines, the Stern linestage and Heisenberg monoblocks, as well as the Humboldt integrated amplifier. Those interested in Audionet's history may find considerable information about that story in the links to those reviews I've mentioned included in today's description section. But today, I'm excited to share a close look at yet another brilliant star in the Audionet product constellation, their superb $10,100 PAM G2 Phonostage, powered by the identically priced $10,100 high current linear power supply, the EPX. Now, I've heard the PAM G2 powered by the EPX before, and on something like more than 20 occasions over the past half-dozen years. It has been the primary phonostage in play during nearly every visit I've made to the GTT audio showrooms in New Jersey, and has been used with virtually every U.S. Kronos turntable demonstration by GTT Audio I've ever attended, from Rocky Mountain to Exponent. The PAM G2 is compact and remarkably Spartan looking. Standing just 2 3/4 inches tall, by 12 1/4 inches deep, by 17 inches wide, it weighs just about 15 1/2 pounds. The front has only the power indicator lamp at the extreme left bottom of the chassis, and the input selector button to the extreme right. It also has a pair of blue indicator lamps to identify whether input 1 or the optional input 2 is selected in the center, all positioned in a line about 1/3 of the distance up from its bottom, between the stylized Audionet logo centered at the top and the PAM G2 MM/MC phono preamplifier designation centered at the bottom. Now, moving to the rear, we find extraordinarily little unused real estate. Starting from the left, there are 2 sets of single-ended inputs for each of the 2 inputs with their respective ground terminals, followed by both a balanced and single-ended set of outputs. Next is the 7-pin DIN input for the EPX power supply umbilical cable, followed by 2 pairs of selector switches, one for each input, for gain, 38, 48, 58, and 68 decibels, resistive loading, 100, 150, 470, 1K, 23K, 47K, or 69K ohms, and capacitive loading of 100, 200, 320, and 420 picofarads, concluding to the very right with a standard IEC socket for the AC mains cable if you are not using the EPX supply. To be complete, by the way, there are 2 other options for external supplies for the PAM G2. Both the EPS G2 at $4,050 or the Ampere at $11,200. Now, while I was initially bothered by having all the loading functionality available only from the rear panel rather than the more readily accessible option of having them behind or beneath some cleverly concealed panel on the faceplate, the pragmatist in me soon extinguished that concern. Since the only reasons you would ever typically want or need to adjust these functions would be with the installation of a new line stage to perhaps match overall system gain, or the installation of a new cartridge to adjust its loading options, the choice to go with the tidier, more austere faceplate seemed justifiable. Now, looking under the hood reveals that primary signal amplification is performed by a dual mono construction transistor input stage using FET inputs. Now, because of the current management system employed, these field effect transistor inputs provide an almost unlimited input resistance. Each channel uses two specially adjusted Audionet operational amplifiers, which have been integrated directly into the input circuit topology. Now, each of these unique op-amps is discretely constructed from 86 individual components, delivering a 100 megahertz throughput capability. It's pretty impressive. The second equalization and amplification stage also employs a dual mono configured output stage, both stages which employ yet another discrete Audionet operational amplifier integrated into the driver circuit. Now, their drivers integrate this Class A circuit with remarkably high standby current, helping to ensure extremely high accuracy, even if tasked by delivering or by driving the longest of interconnects. Now, input switching employs a rather elaborate concept, taking place between the first and second amplification stage, using the amplified and stabilized signal, helping to mitigate any negative audio effects. Further, it automatically mutes its outputs during any switching, preventing the possibility of any disruptive noises, while a safety switch monitors the supply voltage and shuts down the output signal quickly before any unwanted interference might reach the loudspeaker. Now, the EPX linear power supply is nearly twice the size of the PAM G2, standing 4 1/4 inches tall, 14 1/4 inches deep, and 17 inches wide, and it tips the scale at just shy of 40 pounds. Because the best performance from the active circuits in the PAM G2 are highly dependent on the purity and stability of its supply voltages, the EPX provides extremely precise and load-independent power, effectively decoupling any harmful AC influences. Its constant, consistent, and low-noise source of current for the PAM G2 is very much like that one would expect to find used to power scientific tools or instruments in laboratory environments. Now, clearly a thoughtfully complex, remarkably engineered and executed design. How does it sound? The first attribute to present itself after substituting the PAM G2 for my reference Phonostage with an almost visceral assertion was an inclusive advance in bass performance. Now, it's not like I've ever felt slighted in this region before the PAM G2's arrival. But bass, and I mean down into the mid-teens, my von Schweikert Audio Ultra 9s offer a bandwidth of 16 hertz to 40 kilohertz. This area had a newfound reach, authority, and scale, while revealing a more effortless sense of both definition and speed. The resultant advances in pitch definition, from orchestral use of double bass pizzicato to blues, jazz, or rock's use of bass guitar strafes, yielded more clearly delineated tone, faster attack, and more convincing and demarcated decay. Now, while listening to cello works like the Speaker's Corner reissue of the Mercury Living Presence release from Janos Starker's vivid interpretation of Bach's suites for unaccompanied piano, or the original Mercury Living Presence release of Camille Saint-Saëns Symphony No. 3 in C minor, Opus 78, with Marcel Dupré on Detroit's Ford Auditorium organ, with the Detroit Symphony Orchestra under the direction of Paul Perret. Textures, tonalities, and weight are presented in a most articulate and recognizable fashion, more revealing of both the flavor of the wooden body of Starker's instrument and of the compression, the visceral room pressurization that the Allegro Moderato in Saint-Saëns' organ symphony can unleash. Similarly, with exceptionally well-recorded rock LPs like the 2015 anthem release of Rush's 1981 masterpiece, Moving Pictures, textures, tonalities, and weight are presented in a most revelatory fashion, revealing Geddy Lee's fanatically precise and clean fingering. Mid-range is portrayed with both an unmistakable authenticity of tone color and its resultant palpability of texture. The only other Phonostage I've had here that can rival or possibly best it was the internalized Phonostage of the $150,000 Valve Amplification Company's Statement 450i IQ integrated amplifier, which replicates the essence of their astonishing $80,000 two-box Statement Phonostage. And though I'm hesitant to liken their mid-range performance to that of a truly exceptional Valve design, the PAM G2's mid-range is so blustering with life, rich in detail, and full of harmonic bloom and body that it almost begs such comparison. Fundamentals from piano, violin, guitar, or the human voice are rendered so realistically, rife with texture and dimension, that they are presented with an immersive essence of liveness. Their accomplishments here set a standard in this price class, as it delivers some of the most fluid, relaxed, smooth, and expressive mid-range I have had the pleasure of hearing, particularly from a solid-state device. This Audionet combo's ability to reconstruct and integrate the uppermost octaves is simply exceptional. My reference von Schweikert Ultra 9s use a world-class beryllium dome tweeter and a pair of 5-inch hybrid aluminum super tweeters, one front-facing and a second rear-facing for ambience retrieval. With such capabilities, the PAM G2 EPX Synergy effortlessly exposes the detail, specificity, and ethereal air of the sounds of ride cymbals from jazz or blues groups or triangles on classical recordings. With them in play, you are treated to treble with clear, uncongested detail, vivid attack, authentic texture, and clear ambient decay, recording permitting. They are more than merely capable of delivering that sense of graceful effortlessness, of unfettered extension, and the perception of the air of and around the instruments that allow them to regenerate the final measure of trailing ambience and decay that only the finest phonostages can deliver. When it comes to dynamic expressiveness, shut the front door. From intimately exposing the subtleties of shading and articulation down near the noise floor, to recreating the impact and slam of timpani or kick drum, to presenting the lifelike and visceral scaling of a full orchestral crescendo, this combo performs at the top of the class. In terms of microdynamic jump, scaling down to its ability to unlock microdynamic eloquence and nuance, you likely aren't going to find significantly better performance at any price. Staging and imaging are crucial to any vinyl playback system and are areas where even adequate vinyl transcription crucifies digital playback. Once again, this Audionet two-piece phono preamplification system is guilty of proficiently outperforming its competition. Listening to the opening of Rush's Witch Hunt, again from the 2015 Anthem Moving Pictures release, lots, and I do mean lots, of subtle and understated sounds are occurring throughout the entire stage. All the while, no instrument is slighted, no sound misplaced, and nothing wanders or is in any way sullied. This complex recording includes two subtle percussion runs, one starting at about 2:04 and another following at about 2:12. Now, they have always fascinated me, as I have never been able to successfully identify exactly what instrument is responsible for them. Yet they are succinctly recreated, centered, and emerge from about 3 feet off the floor. Further, the opening tom roll is simply breathtaking, revealing not only side-to-side positioning, but front-to-back cues as well, all the while exhibiting crisp, tight, pitch-defined skin tone and stick strikes. It's impressive. Whether it be the fixed, delicate, and precisely revealed location of the faintly struck triangle buried deep into stage right, house left in Steely Dan's Asia, the title cut from the Cisco Music LP release of the same title. The uniqueness and specificity of the scattered children's voices from the opening of School from the Mobile Fidelity UHQR release of Supertramp's Crime of the Century, or the individuality or corporeality provided the four voices and blues harps, so genuinely conveyed and individualized across the stage on Down Home Blues from the 1990 Alligator release Harp Attack. I have only heard a handful of phonostages that can come close to, let alone equal, this combo's capabilities in this regard. Damn, what amazing performance. I believe, especially in light of its combined exceptional microdynamic prowess, precision of imaging, lifelike sizing and voicing of staging information, that we as listeners are able to reap such generous benefits primarily because of the exceptionally silent backdrop afforded by the contributions of the superb EPX high current linear power supply. Only the absolute best phono amplifiers I've experienced can both reach down into and play that manifest blackness. This Audionet pairing, like only a handful of much more costly entrants, pushes that limit in my experience. You know, there is no question that my expectations from the vinyl playback experience were shattered and forever reset after hearing the staggering advances in performance that John Curl's Vendetta Research SCP-2 Phonostage, first introduced in 1998, delivered. That four-box solid-state phonostage set the standard for me, one that was extremely hard to compete with for the next decade. This Audionet combo may just deliver a similar, unforgettable experience for your listening. Overall, the Audionet PAM G2, powered by the EPX, allows listeners to experience the delicate and ethereal characteristics captured on the very best recordings when played back using today's absolute finest available LP transcription systems. And while one might be tempted to believe that buyers would have every right to expect this superb level of performance that I have described as created by these remarkable Audionet machines from any phonostage selling in this price class, that, sadly, cannot be taken for granted. And as exceptional as this Audionet pairing is in general, where this combo really steps up and seriously overachieves, and I mean comparable to and or besting other phonostages in even the $45,000 to $50,000 price range, are with its abilities to regenerate authentic bass, its spatial acuity, and its overall authentic tone, texture, and body. The Audionet PAM G2, with its splendid EPX power supply, has secured a place on my list of what components to try and acquire next. And just in case you weren't able to read between the lines here, what this superb combination of devices delivers, compared to its asking price, represents one of the most cost-effective values in phono preamplification available in today's highly competitive market. I would suggest that if you aren't willing to pony up for the dough for this killer combination, you shouldn't even give them a listen. The withdrawal you will suffer when they leave is considerable, and they are most highly recommended. As always, thanks for taking the time to drop by today. Please don't forget to like and share links to your favorite episodes with your friends and on social media, and be sure to subscribe to be notified about every new episode. I love hearing from you, so be sure to post your comments and questions. Information on supporting the channel may be found in today's description section or at my website, theaudioanalyst.com. Everyone, please stay safe and keep the music playing, won't you? Till next time, cheers.